Today we are going to learn about credit reports. Credit history is a record of financial performance. A credit report is a summary of your financial history, including whether payments are made on time, how much debt a person has, and whether or not they have a history of repaying their debt. A lender is someone who loans money. They often request credit reports. A borrower is someone who borrows money. They can also request credit reports. In order to establish a positive credit history, you must prove that you can successfully repay a loan. A positive credit history is reflected in a high credit score. Examples of actions that help to build a positive credit history are to pay your bills on time and to borrow money that you can repay. Actions that could possibly lead to a negative credit history would be things like acquiring debt, such as a loan, borrowing more money than you can repay, or making late payments that might possibly be reported to a credit reporting agency. Credit reports and scores are important because showing a positive credit history allows consumers to borrow money at lower interest rates. This makes it easier to buy things like cars and houses. Credit reports and credit scores are important to lenders because lenders might choose not to extend credit to a consumer with a negative credit history. Credit scores typically have a range from 300 to 850, with a higher value indicating a positive credit history. Negative credit actions are usually reflected on a credit report for at least 7 years. You may want to put a star by that or highlight it because that is something that is very important to know. Identify the two borrowers most likely to be offered a loan if the decision was solely based on their credit scores, and justify your response. Now remember, a positive credit history is reflected with a high score. So that means we're going to look for the two highest scores in the table. And the two highest scores that I see are 810, which goes with K. Simmons, and 785, which goes with F. Rodriguez. So we're going to list those two people, F. Rodriguez and K. Simmons, are most likely to be offered a loan because they have the highest credit scores. The table shows some of the actions taken by two different borrowers. Explain the effect of these actions on each credit score. How long will any negative credit actions be reflected in the credit report? So if we look at the table, Mr. M. Gibson paid credit card bill late 3 months in a row. And then T. Wilson repaid the entire car loan early. So one of them did something positive and one of them did something negative. Let's start with the positive, Mr. T. Wilson. Repaying a loan early or on time will raise T. Wilson's credit score. So his credit score will probably go up as a result of his actions. Now let's take a look at M. Gibson's actions. Making late payments on a credit card bill will lower M. Gibson's credit score. So that means his credit score is going to be affected in a negative way. And then the last question says, how long will any negative credit actions be reflected in the credit report? And the answer to this comes from where we highlighted on the first page. The negative credit actions will usually remain in an individual's credit report for 7 years. Let's take a look at this problem. Identify the borrowers least likely to be offered a loan if the decision was solely based on their credit scores. Justify your response. Now, if you recall, you're less likely to be offered a loan if your credit score is low. and credit scores go from 300 to 850, so we're looking for the lowest credit scores. Which two borrowers have the lowest credit scores? Well, as I'm looking, I see that Y Ling has a credit score of 495, and that's the lowest in the table. And then P. Pickney also has a low credit score of 580. So these two are the least likely to be offered a loan, and that's what we need to write. So I wrote Y Ling and P. Pickney are the least likely to be offered a loan because they have the lowest credit scores. Mr. Magoo paid his mortgage payment late 4 months in a row. Explain the effect of this action on his credit score. Well, making late payments is not a good thing. You want to make your payments on time or early. So this is a negative credit action, which means it's going to lower his credit score. So we can say making late payments will lower his credit score. So why is it important to establish a positive credit history? Why do you want to have a good credit score? You want to have a positive credit history or a good credit score so that you can obtain a loan with lower interest rates to buy things like a car or a house. So that's what we're going to write. Again, having a positive credit history helps you obtain a loan with a lower interest rate to buy things like a house or a car. What is the value of credit reports to borrowers and to lenders? So what this question really means is, why are credit reports important to borrowers and why are they important to lenders? Let's start with the borrowers. Borrowers need a positive credit report to obtain a loan. Now let's take a look at it from the lender's point of view. So lenders need to know if a borrower can repay the loan on time, and this information is usually found in the credit report. So that's why credit reports are important to borrowers and to lenders. And that's all you need to know about credit reports for now.